because next week is our draft show, we're just going to run off a final mock draft. I want to talk about kind of the previews and the scenarios for kind of the best quarterbacks in this draft class, where we can see them go. And there's six notable ones. I have them all ranked on here via NFL Draft Buzz. This is all their draft grades on here. Now, obviously, if you could tell by the thumbnail that old Tanner D made this right here, did a great job here. You couldn't even tell, you know, great job. That's all I gotta say. That Caleb Williams holding up the jersey with Roger Goodell, I couldn't do that. That hasn't happened yet, and he just edited that to look like that. So it amazes me on what he can do and his abilities with his editing and such. But we take a look at what NFL Draft Buzz has as their number one quarterback and what everybody has on their number one quarterback. And we look at Caleb Williams, and he probably and will maybe go number one of the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I think he's the best quarterback in this draft class,
we're not gonna get into.
We're not gonna go into that. Now, he probably will go number one overall, and we'll set that in stone and say, hey, Caleb Williams is going number one overall. So where does that leave the next quarterbacks to fall? I'm a big fan of Jayden Daniels. I know you are too. We talked a lot of Jayden Daniels before he won that Heisman. Said, "Hey, this is going to be our Heisman winner for this year." He ended up being the Heisman winner.
You know what's crazy? If I can cut you off, and I'm sorry, you've been talking about Jayden Daniels since week like 4 or 5.
Oh, it was
season. It was early.
It was real early.
Literally, like you were on it. I have to give you your kudos on that one. That was no. I have to give you that. For you to you've been on that wagon again. You've been on that train for a while, and again, it's paid off because he's a special talent.
Oh yeah, it's like I saw him, and of course I watched a lot of SEC football because State's playing an SEC team 8 weeks out the 12 or 9 weeks out the 12, however it adds up, and you see a lot of Jayden Daniels, especially when I'm not watching state football. I'm watching SEC football because in my mind, that is the best football there is to watch on the weekend is SEC football, especially to see how state ranks at the end of the year. So I saw a lot of Jayden Daniels. So the year Caleb Williams won the Heisman, Jayden Daniels was at LSU, and he was still a marvel to look at. He wasn't what he was this past year, but it was like this man is going to come into LSU his final year. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to show why he is the best QB in the country. And he really did show. He put up video game numbers against several teams before it even happened. I was just like, man, this man's going to win a Heisman. That was my Heisman pick, and it paid off. I was like, okay, well, based on what I saw the previous year, this man is going to win it. Now, I like Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe going to this next college football season. I liked Quinn Ewers last season, and I like him again. Now, I like to say those two are going to be Heisman finalists. I want to say Jalen Milroe is going to take it home. We're going to see whenever college football rolls around. But, Nate, is Jayden Daniels our number 2? Should the Commanders, after acquiring Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator, will Jayden Daniels mesh so well with this Cliff Kingsbury offense? Of course, you have Eric Bieniemy's offense kind of lingering still, but majority it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury. How do we see that playing in Washington? What's it look like?
It looks like it's possibly going to be a good marriage with his skill set, and whatnot. But the thing is, like, he's going to have to learn, and he has Cliff Kingsbury there that's going to help him to be able to be a quarterback from the cerebral part. See, that's the most important aspect of it is, we talk about the physical attributes, being able to throw the ball, the pocket presence, all these. Now, these things are important, but we got to talk about the cerebral part of the game when it's knowing the defense ahead of you. Whether they're playing a single high, they're showing a 2-high shell right now. They're showing a 2-high shell. That means right now, if you're to snap the ball and they're in cover 2 or cover 4 or cover 6, your first read may be this front side. But if that safety comes down and they're playing a single close high safety, okay, wait a minute, that goes from the front side or your first read. Oh, it might be this backside X right here. That may be the first read, or it might be this tight end right here. It's learning the cerebral part of the game in that aspect and learning the chess match that's playing within the game. He's got to learn that aspect of it. The physical tools, that's a plus, but you got to have the mental capacity to be able to play in this game.
And Cliff Kingsbury can be so good at that. I mean, he is the Heisman specialist. This man has a lot of Heisman people that have won the trophy. I didn't know how to word that. Going into the NFL, he is credited with a lot of people who have won that trophy and held that trophy up high.
Baker, Kyler, is it Kyler?
Kyle, we could even say Caleb Williams. He was at USC. He was a quarterback coach at USC when Caleb Williams won it. I think Case Keenum is another one that he had influence on. I'd have to look it up, but I know those four for sure. And why not bring somebody that won the Heisman to somebody that is such a Heisman specialist? That is, although somebody like Tim Tebow did not work out in the NFL, probably had one of the greatest college football seasons ever. Jayden Daniels, I'm not going to attribute to that. This man has the physical and capabilities and everything to play at a high level in the NFL. I love it. The only thing I have to say about him, he took a lot of big hits in college. He would run out the pocket, not know when to slide, and be like, hey, I'm Jayden freaking Daniels. I'm just going to run into you. And you can't have that in the NFL. And that's why teams are like, we don't want our franchise quarterback to get injured because he does not know when to make the decision of, hey, I'm going to slide here, or maybe I can get past him enough where I can take minimal amount of damage and still gain a few extra yards.
You got a point. That's another aspect of it. He has to understand that nuance of when to take the slide and when not to fight. Because again, you don't see a Patrick Mahomes taking those shots. You don't see a Joe Burrow taking those shots. Again, because you're more valuable on the field than on the sideline. Again, if it's a 9-yard run and whatnot, okay, hey, you live to fight the next down. You again, it's being smart in that aspect of the game because these guys are bigger, faster, and stronger. So being smart, again, you want to make sure that you're available for your ball club. And he has all the physical tools and whatnot, but again, it's important to know when to slide and again when to get out of bounds. You got to know these things.
So for me, Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels are pretty much 1A and 1B. In terms of grades, Caleb Williams comes out a little bit of top, but both of them stand away from the pack. So the leader of the pack going into the next couple grades of QBs is none other than quarterback Drake May. What some people are saying, this will be the guy that will transfer the best in the NFL. He's the guy that is the most NFL ready out of all the quarterbacks in this draft class. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to see. I like Drake May. I like what he can do. But it's different. For me, it's hard for me to say, hey, this dude has played against some dominant defenses and been able to. The man played in the ACC conference. Let's be for real. He did not have to play against a lot of tough defenses. I don't even know if he played Florida State this past year. I don't watch a lot of ACC football unless it's Clemson. But I know he can play. It's just if he can play at that next level. That's the question. And Drake May, he has the best grade coming out. He's the third best ranked quarterback. Well, Patriots are on the clock with number 3. Is this a spot where we see the Patriots picking, or we see a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy rising up in draft stock? Do they go ahead and go with J.J. McCarthy, or do they stick with everybody's first instinct and draft Drake May?
I'm going to say we're going to have to go with Drake May because nothing against J.J. McCarthy, but that Michigan offense was fueled by that offensive line and that running game. They had arguably the best running game in all of the landscape of college football. Nothing against him. So when you have an offense that's averaging about 6.5 to 7 yards a pop per run, that opens it up big time for the play action and the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't have to do anything. I don't really recall us seeing J.J. McCarthy have his moment during the college football season. And when I say moment, I mean moment to where 3 minutes left in the game, you got to drive down from your 25 to get a score. To get a touchdown. I don't recall him having to have that moment because the Michigan, team offense Again, a team was so good. And I cannot blame him because the team is so good because, again, team success over individual success. Team success. But I don't recall him having that moment. So we go with Drake May. We go with Drake May. And again, we get so enamored with a lot of these, quote unquote draft analysts and whatnot, saying that this guy's talent is going to be able to translate, into the NFL much better. I I sometimes gaff at some of these sayings, these quotes, because we're trusting words from individuals that have never played a down of football.
And you're right. That's sometimes I look at I'm like, man, although we take Mel Kiper, for example. No shade at Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper's never played a down of football in his life. And people think, okay, well, does that discredit him in the sense of we're not going to trust his whatever, and you can make that decision on your own. He is still the most trusted draft analyst out of everybody, and he's never played a down of football in his life. Whether or not you want to trust him is up to you.
I mean,
Now, I don't like
yeah,
some of his
yeah.
picks. Personally, I don't like some of his picks, but I can see a lot of people now, and this is what I'm going to talk about for next week. They have J.J. McCarthy going up to number 5 with the Vikings trading up with the Chargers, and it would make a little bit of sense. This is what they're saying. Jim Harbaugh's in salesman mode right now. We've talked about this in the past. He's in salesman mode saying, hey, J.J. McCarthy is the number 1 quarterback in this draft class. He's basically saying, I'm going to draft him, but he's not. He's wanting somebody to call his bluff, or if not, trade up to number 5 and say, hey, I'm going to draft the person that you said was number 1 in this draft class because you were the one that kind of produced him in college. And we're going to see what happens. If it's Minnesota, what everyone's saying is Minnesota, I don't like, because what they're doing in Minnesota is they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Now, their offense is predominantly air raid offense. And to stick somebody in an air raid offense that has not shown any sort of air raid capabilities in college is very alarming to me. You're going to put your trust in somebody. Like I said, you're going to try to fit a square peg in a round hole. Maybe it fits. But you're going to trust somebody. And we can say, hey, that moment you were talking about, we can say, hey, he did really good at leading Michigan against Alabama in that Rose Bowl. He did very good. But at the end of the day, what had them score at the end was their run game. When they got to the red zone, it was the run game, right? So it's you pick and choose there. But to draft somebody, and I know the Minnesota needs a quarterback so bad, to draft somebody that has predominantly no experience in air raid offense, where he had to run the ball 100 times a game, just passing off to Blake Corum, is alarming. Why? And to me, it's like, why am I seeing this and draft analysts aren't? What's going on there?
A lot of these draft analysts, again, they get enamored with, again, is he talented? Yes, he's very talented. Yet it's kind of hard for me sometimes just to listen to some of these draft analysts when it's just like, how do you know anything in regards to the game when you sit at a desk and wear a suit? You never played the game. You never went out there and had to go through a 2-minute or break the defense down or offense down and so forth. But you're giving critiques on the talent and how this person's talent is going to measure up to the game of the NFL. Mind you, the thing that's actually very interesting is that when these players, they don't necessarily measure up and they don't fit the organization that they're with, and it comes back and it's just like, oh man, so that's that awkward. Oh, I mean, again, JJ McCarthy, Minnesota's going to be they're desperate because number one, they got to try to keep Justin Jefferson. They're going to try to keep Justin, and if they don't, they got to try to get something for him. Minnesota is either going to try to get a first-round draft pick for him, if they're going to trade it, because they're not just going to let him go, and they're going to try to find a quarterback that can come in and just, again, I'm not saying be what Kirk Cousins was, but that can actually, he can develop a relationship and a rapport with and be his dominant self. I don't see that from JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry, I don't.
I don't either. And that's interesting is like you have somebody who is arguably your best player on that football team. Arguably. And I would go to say he is the best player on that Minnesota Vikings football team. And now that their quarterback's gone, what's interesting to me is they might have all this draft capital to trade up and draft a quarterback. But in my mind, there's something also telling me like, hey, we can trade all this, get all this draft capital to draft this quarterback. But we have somebody who is highly desirable in the NFL that can give us more draft capital if we let him go. Now, Justin Jefferson is on his last, I think he's on his 5th year, his player option. If I'm not, I might be mistaken there. Rob, can you check it out for me if I'm wrong? I think he's either on his 4th year of his rookie deal or they have him on his 5th year this next coming season. I can't remember. But regardless, you are still able to trade that person. Now, if you get JJ McCarthy and Jay Jettas goes, hey, I'm not okay with this. I don't want to play for somebody who has no experience in air raid offense, and that's what we like to run, which is why I had 1,800 yards one season and 1,600 yards one season. I don't want to play here anymore. Well, all that draft capital you just use to trade up and draft JJ McCarthy, you just acquire more by trading Jay Jettas away. And that's a possibility I could see Minnesota doing in this draft. But it all goes up to, hey, if my best player's unhappy, he's unhappy, and there's not really much I can do about it because we just let the best chance of keeping him walk out the door and go to Atlanta.
But you can't play like that. You cannot. No. You cannot play. He is a generator. Now we talked a lot about generational talent. We talked a lot about generational talent. Justin Jefferson, generational talent at the wide receiver position. You don't get him like him that can run every route. He's in the last year of his father. Yep, he's in the
perfect 5th year. That's perfect.
So basically, they're going to have to get a deal done this year, or try to get it. Or there's going to be a franchise tag. Franchise tag. I don't know if he shows up. And at this point, you're going to want to try to get something for him.
You got to. He's on his last year. You don't come up with the contract. You got 8 weeks when the season starts to go ahead and trade him. And if 8 weeks pass, that's it. You don't have another shot because he's on his last year. You're not going. I mean, he's not going to have them friend. But people
franchise tag. You know, that's why guys they don't report to training camp. They will sit out of training camp because that franchise tag. What it is that you get the top 3 of in between the top 3 salaries of your position, but it's not like it's guaranteed money. But again, it doesn't have the bonuses included and whatnot. There's no security, as you can say, in that deal. So that's why guys sit out, and whatnot, and they hold out. But again, you don't play with fire because you're gonna get burned. You do what's best for the organization and the franchise. If this guy is somebody you want to keep around, again, Minnesota has had some of the best wide receivers in there that have ever played the game. Randy Moss, Chris Carter. You know what? Stephon Diggs was there. And again, you have arguably a generational talent in Justin Jefferson, and you got to do something to keep him. Or if you can't keep him, you got to get something for him.